Hello everyone, I am back with another video. My name's Molly. I create book content with a mixture of mainstream / secular books as well as Christian books. Today I am going to do the end of the year book tag that Cheryl from Candlewick Library did, which she also saw from another YouTuber, I think called Ariel Bissett, and I will link both of them below. I've not seen Ariel's video, but I have seen Cheryl's. So yeah, and basically this isn't the same as the end of the year book tag where you talk about everything you've read for the year, but this is more for what's left of the year and what your plans are, and I think there's a couple of things that you're to recommend as well or whatever. So yeah, that's about it for the introduction. There's only 6 questions, so this shouldn't be too long, hopefully, but we'll see. I am good at waffling. So let's get started. The first question is, are there any books that you have started this year that you need to finish? And there are. I keep thinking there isn't, but that's because I never normally put pressure on myself to finish a book in a certain amount of time. Certainly the ones that I'm going to be talking about, because a lot of the ones that I start within a year but don't necessarily continue until I finish the book are usually non-fiction, so that's why I have some left. One of them isn't, but the others are, and that is just 3 books. So the first one is one of my grandma's. She's not written it, but she let me borrow this because yeah, and that is Hereafter by David Winter, and this is a Christian non-fiction about, well, as it says on the cover, a new look at an old question: what happens after death? And as I said before, I'm a Christian, and so this comes from a Christian perspective. Now, just to warn you, this is an old book. So my grandma bought this a very, very long time ago, and this book was originally printed in 1972. So there are things, well, a lot of it isn't necessarily dated, but some things are talked about that are more for that time period, kind of. But a lot of it isn't, like, it's not necessary, like, you don't need to worry about it, because certainly a lot of stuff that he talks about is, well, it's eternal. So yeah, so I'm reading that. I've not got very much to go. It's a very short book, and the reason why it looks like the pages are coming out is because they are. My grandma's had this for a long time. I don't know where she got it from, so it's possible it was secondhand at the time, but I don't think so. But yes, so this is about, heaven, what happens to us when we pass away. So yes, I've been making my way through that just for maybe a couple of months now. So I'm hoping to finish this before the end of the year. The next one I'm hoping to finish by the end of the year is possibly unlikely, because I've only read this small amount, so that's all I've read. So it's not very much. So yeah, I'm only on like page 48, 49, and the book has not loads. It's under 300 pages really. Nearly 300 when you include the scripture index, because again this is a Christian non-fiction, and this is quite a, well, I'll tell you what it is first. So this is a book called Slaves, Women and Homosexuals, Exploring the Hermeneutics of Cultural Analysis. And this is by William J. Webb. Now this came from, I actually picked this up and another one by the same author. I can't remember the title, but that one is more about the Old Testament wars and battles and stuff like that. And I got these from Faith's channel, from How to Faith for Life on YouTube. She does mainly Bible journaling and stuff to do with learning scripture stuff. But she does do the odd book recommendations or reading vlogs now and again, but that's not really her main content. So she talked about this and the other one, the one about the wars and stuff. And as you can tell by the title, it very much talks about hot topics in society as a whole, but also in terms of Christianity. So yes, I've not read much of it, so I don't have much of an opinion on the author, like whether I agree with him, but so far I think it's probably will. He seems to talk more from it definitely tackles some big topics anyway. I initially wanted to say that I think it's come from an apologetics point of view, but I'm going to be wrong in that. But yeah, either way, it's interesting, especially because I come from a background, from a family that in particular I have a lot of family members who are part of the LGBT community, so I thought this would be quite an interesting topic to look at because of that. So far I'm still on the basis of we have to treat everyone with love, whether we agree with them or not. So we shall see. I think so far he does a good way so far of showing with scriptures from the Bible about, where is it? It had, like, for example, on this particular page, it's talking about slaves and slavery, and it's talking about, some quite modern outlooks in the Bible about how to treat slaves, especially in those times back then that, they stood out from the crowd, so to speak. And then there's other ones, scriptures showing how there was room for improvement back in those days that we can also bring in, and both of which we can bring into today's society and lives. But yeah, it's interesting. I've not gone far, but I do want to try and finish it this year if I can. I've not done much reading of it, to be fair. It is I haven't got a background in biblical studies. I've not, gone to college or university to study the Bible or anything like that. So it is quite heavy going with that, and that's partly why I'm going quite slowly with it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for everyone. Sorry about the cover. It's the type of fabric. It's not suede, but it has that sort of suede-y feel to it. So that's why it looks quite dirty, because for some reason the fingerprints seem to like the covers. But yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for everyone, but if you do have that knowledge and you want to read this, or you don't but you're still interested like I was and am, then give it a try. I got given these by my uncle, and then these were on Amazon. That's where I would have bought them if I bought them myself. There are probably other places, as far as I'm aware. I don't have very many, if any, Christian bookstores. I don't think I have any really. So yeah, Amazon's the way to go for me anyway. Unless, something changes and I can find books elsewhere, which is possible. And my last book is the only one that's a fiction, and this is the original Grimm's fairy tales that they collected, and it's translated and edited by Jack Zipes. and the illustrator as well, if you're interested, is Andrea Deso. I don't know how to pronounce her name or his name, because I think there are some Andreas who are men, I think it's a unisex name. Anyway, this is how far I've read all of that, and so with the amount left to read, I've not read very much really, but initially I was going to kind of read it like a bedtime story before going to bed, kind of like you do with your kids, sort of thing, if you have any, or siblings, if you did that with your siblings. So yeah, this is a collection of the short stories that the Grimm brothers collected. Yeah, there's a lot of Christian allegory in these, as well as just some all-out weird nonsense stories. And it also has, like I said, and as you can tell, illustrations. And the illustrations are lovely. I'll show you one that I first find. They're not loads, but they come throughout. But there's that one there. I think this is based on, I think this one is the one that The Princess and the Frog is based on, I think. But I could be wrong, I'm not actually sure. But these are supposed to be the first edition of the fairy tale. So this is like one of the first ones before they started editing them more. And, you know, before you get the more famous ones that you hear about today, like Red Riding Hood. So I think these are the original ones where some of those stories are based on, have been based on. So yeah, I got this from my Waterstones, so you can probably find this in, I assume, your local bookstores or on Amazon. I mean, you'll find all sorts of different variations of these. I used to have a different one that I ended up never reading, because that's what I used to do. I ended up getting rid of it in the end to a charity shop. So yeah, that is the last book that I would like to finish before the end of the year. Question number 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? Technically yes, I've got a few. So what I've done is, I've got 2 that I have picked for myself, that I have read / am currently reading, that I think are great for the autumnal season / transition. But I've also had a look at some other books of mine that I've got to that I think are quite autumnal, or look autumnal, or are quite what I personally associate with autumnal / fall sort of vibes and transitioning into that season. So I'm going to start with the ones that I've read and move on from there. So the first one that I read that kind of more officially was like the start of my autumnal reading, and that was Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery. This is the 3rd book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and I recently finished this, and I mean, so far all 3 of the books kind of go throughout the year / multiple years, so you could read any of them at any time. I prefer the first one in the spring, but I know loads of people associate it with this time of year, so it's whatever you think and prefer. But I picked this one for that, mainly because of the cover for autumn, because you don't get more autumnal than that, and it pretty much starts off in the late summer moving to autumn, because this starts off in the summer holidays before Anne and some of her friends go off to university. So yeah, this is the one I initially picked for myself, and if you agree then that's great, if not, it's up to you, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's the one I have read and finished. Another one is one that I am currently reading, which gives me autumnal vibes, and that's this book. And this is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I mean, this cover screams autumnal / winter to me, with the dark cover, and all the gold foiling as well. It just, I don't know how else to describe it, but in terms of how I look at it, I think of the autumn. This is also an adventure book, as you can tell by the title. So again, you don't have to associate that with autumn or winter. I mean, that's the same. Same could be said for any and every book under the sun, and yet to be created. But yeah, I picked this book because of that. But yeah, those are the two that I recommend for what I've read and stuff. But there's also other books that I have picked out as just general recommendations. I would like to preface all except one book I've not read, so I can't account for the content or personal opinions. So forgive me. I've got quite a few. Most of my pile of books is for that. So I apologise. But because I don't know much about them, it'll be very quick to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from an order. I'm going to go with one that looks autumnal but isn't necessarily an autumn book or spooky or atmospheric necessarily, because I don't know anything about it. And then I'm going to move on to that to murder mysteries, and then move on to that to fantasy / sort of spooky autumnal style books. So the first one is this one called Bookworm, and this is by Lucy Mangan, and it's apparently a memoir of childhood reading. I've not read this. I got it for, that looks like a 3. Although in the camera it looks like a 2, but in here it looks like a 3. So I think I got it for £3 from charity shop. I like the look of it. I thought it was very nice and autumnal, and also because it's a memoir to childhood reading, and obviously being a big reader, especially as a child, I thought it was worth a read. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if anyone has read it. Let me know if you have and what you thought if you did. But yeah, it definitely gives me autumnal vibes with the tree foil and all of the different things on it. Like there's different, like, there's teddy bears, what I would say witch's hat, and a cat. All different sorts of things, even the spider and the spider's web. They might all be connected to particular stories because it's about reading. I don't know. Could be, but either way, certainly the witch's hat and the cat are quite classic Halloween-y sort of things, but it's not necessarily about that. Next, I'm going to go on to the murder mysteries. The first one on my pile is the Corfe Castle Murders, and this is the Dorset Crime Book 1, and this is by Rachel McLean. If you've seen, I think my first video, I had this on my TBR. I think, oh yeah, because there was a number on the cover for the Back to Hogwarts readathon, and I never got to it. But it's a murder mystery. I mean, that you can't get more atmospheric and spooky and autumnal than that. Because it's also set in England. You've got the English weather, so if you know, you know. We're very good with the autumnal weather all year round. So yeah, my next murder mystery is Murder at the Book Festival, and this is by Jane Bettany, and this is a Violet Brewster mystery. I've talked about this briefly already because I've not read it, but it's on my current TBR. I don't know anything about it, whether it's book 1 or if there's other books or what it's like. But it's a murder mystery and it's about books. So, yeah. Oh, this was a borrow. Yeah. Sorry, trying to think where I got it from. Okay, my last murder mystery is this one, Murder Most Royal. And I know this is part of a series. I've not read any of the others. This is another borrow from a fellow church member, friend. This book is by S.J. Bennett. There she is, I think. And this is, if you can't tell by the title, it's a murder mystery that includes the Queen. And I'm going to assume from the back, Queen Elizabeth II, our last queen, because we currently have a king. So yeah, I'm slightly disappointed because I kind of hoping it's Queen Victoria, certainly with the front cover. I mean, it's very vague. It could be modern, like it is, or ish. But yeah, but that's fine. I'm happy to try it at some point. So yeah, this is another murder mystery that you might want to try during the autumn seasons. My last 4 books that I'm recommending are more of the spooky / maybe horror, I'm not sure, with one of them, and then fantasy. So I'm going to start with the spooky and horror, starting with this one, which is Dracul, and this is by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker. Again, current TBR. It's spooky. It's based on Dracula, and it's supposed to be the prequel. And again, I don't know how appropriate it is. So yeah, but I'm excited to give it a try. I'm hoping to get to it this month. I'm hoping it'll be my next one, if I finish my other book before then. My next book I have read, and that is The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. This is a spooky, atmospheric book, as you can see, very spooky. I don't want to say too much about this. From what I can remember, there was nothing inappropriate. I don't think there was swearing, but I could be wrong, because I read this last year. Yeah, last year. Really enjoyed it. There was a great twist at the end that I kind of got, but not really. So it was really good. I really enjoyed the twist. However, the twist, if I talk about the title, the twist kind of gives away the twist. So I don't want to talk about the title. But if you're Christian and you don't want to read about witches, don't let the title fool you. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. It's not biggest book. I mean, actually it's quite big, but to be fair, the writing's not big. No, it's not small. So yeah, because it's a hardback as well, so it's about 400 pages. Yeah, so it's 413 pages, so it's decently long, but again, because it's a decent sized hardback, it might be less pages if you get a different version, because I'm going to assume there's probably a paperback as well somewhere, and there's all different versions, aren't there? I mean, you can get large prints in books. I don't know if there is one for this, but obviously that affects how many pages you have. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, definitely spooky and atmospheric. Yeah, I definitely recommend that if you're interested. It's not particularly scary, it's more just atmospheric and spooky. You might find it more scary if you don't like the topic, because there is, what happens, children go missing and stuff, so there is things like that. So if you are sensitive to that, because I know my mum is to stuff like that, so if you don't like that, maybe don't read it, but it wasn't graphic, so you should be okay, maybe. I don't know. We're all different, aren't we? Who knows? Do what you think is right for you. That's all I can say, really. So, My final two books to recommend are both fantasy. This one is my first one. This is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. There's also a film based on the book. Love the film. It's brilliant. I've not read the book, so I want to get to this at some point this autumn / maybe winter. I mean, it's not snow, it's clouds, isn't it? But I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's fantasy. Again, I've not read it, but I'm assuming it's not adult. I'm assuming it's probably like older kids sort of read. So, yeah. Another option for you. And my final book is Heart of Red, Blood of Blue. Yeah, sorry, it's because of the two BLs here. My brain's not right. This is by Rebecca Belliston. Yeah, sorry, just checking I'm reading it right. This is my only Christian fiction that isn't a classic. There is the Anne of Green Gables one, Anne of the Island, which is Christian, but this is as well. Again, this isn't one I've read, but obviously, because it's Christian, it is going to be, it's not going to be really bad, and, like Dracula, for example. I'm not expecting that to be particularly Christian, I guess, if you know what I mean, acceptable for readers sort of thing. So yeah, but I know this is a fantasy, and the cover with the red, very autumn, winter sort of vibes. So this is another one I would recommend for this time of year, certainly in terms of the cover and fantasy. Again, like I said, I haven't read it, so I can't recommend the story for itself. But I have heard there's some Christian stuff in it, but not very much. So, question number 3. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? And yeah, there's a few. Some of them are already out, but I haven't got yet. And some of them aren't out in the UK yet. So one in particular is one that I was hoping really to do for the Journey Through the Bible Readathon, but unfortunately, because it's a biblical retelling of, I think, the first wife of King David, I think, but it's not out yet. And that is Brave by Misu Andrews. I think you can get it on Amazon, but I would like the paperback, which isn't out yet. But that is apparently supposed to be out in sometime in November. I pre-ordered it, so I'm hoping to get that. There's another book as well, because I wanted to get 2, because my brain thought, oh, why not get 2, so then it makes it more worthwhile. I'm like, the whole point of cheaper books is to not buy more of them. I don't listen to myself, evidently, very well. So I've got that one on the way as well at the same time. There's other new releases that are Christmas based. One of them is it Christmas at Sugar Plum Manor? I think is that Christian as well? I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think it is Christian, but it's certainly Christmas. A Christmas book. There's another Christmas book as well, but I can't remember what that title is. But there is another Christian book that I am waiting for, that is a new release for this year, but I think it was released earlier on in the year, like maybe late spring, summer. And that is The Broken Branch, but I can't remember the title, not the title, the author, so I apologise for that, but that's another new release that I'm waiting for. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll get to them this year, but I'm hoping to. Certainly the Christmas ones, and maybe Brave as well, I don't know. But yeah. Question 4. What are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? So I'm gonna use those as a different books to what I picked out for the ones I've started. But the ones Okay, the 3 books that I want to read are now 4. Sorry, 5. Because one of them is kind of, I don't necessarily have to read it by the end of this year, but I would like to. And I'm going to start with the ones that I definitely need to get read and finished, and that is Murder at the Book Festival by Jane Bettany and Murder Most Royal by S.J. Bennett. And that's because I borrowed both of these from 2 different people at church, my local church that I go to. So I want to get these read so I can get them back to them. So those are my priority out of the 3. Now I have 3 more books, of course, and 2 of them I would like to read this year and finish. One of them, I don't know, but I want to read Dracul this year, even if I don't get it done in this TBR currently for this month. I want to get that read this year because it's, well, Dracula and spooky season. But I would actually also really like to reread this, The Lighthouse Witches. Now, most of the time I don't reread books because I find that it takes me long enough to get through them, and there are too many books and too little time, and so this is one I would like to reread, but I am not going to force myself. If something else takes my fancy or I run out of time, then I won't reread it. But I actually have been wanting and getting an urge to read it, which often normally doesn't happen with me for reasons I have already disclosed. But yeah, I would like to if I can. So that one's kind of like a technically 3rd/4th book. But it's one of those where it's kind of like, you know, when you have your sports people on the bench in like football, like American football, or even soccer, like European football, you know, you have your shoe-ins, or, you know, you switch them around. This is that for me. You know, like if I get to it, you know, if I can bring this into my books that I read this year, that'd be great. But if not, we will survive. And then my next one is a non-fiction that I would like to get to. And the reason why I'm adding this in is mainly because it's an important one. It tackles stuff that I'm not very confident in. So, and that is a Christian non-fiction that I picked up from a charity shop. And this is How to Talk About Jesus Without Looking Like an Idiot. And this is by Andy Bannister. I don't know who Andy Bannister is, so I can't vouch for, you know, for the guy, whether I agree with everything. And I might not agree with everything in here, I don't know. Like with any sort of non-fiction. But there is a foreword by Lee Strobel, and I know Faith from How to Faith for Life has talked about him, and I think in a positive way, I think. So, yeah, and it looks quite easy to read. It's quite big writing. So hopefully this will be good. Ooh. Just found an extra. It's like a little bookmark. It has a verse on it. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Lovely. It's lovely to have that. Can use that as a bookmark. So yeah, I don't know whether it'll be useful, but talking about Jesus is definitely something I really struggle with. Because I'm not very... Well, the thing is, you don't want to be a Bible basher, do you? You don't want to be like talking, making people feel pressured or anything like that. Not pressured, but you know what I mean. You don't want to put people off, because that's, defeats the whole point of talking about Jesus. So yeah, I thought this might be useful. Might give me some tips on ways I can do it, because I'm quite an introverted person. So yes, that is one I would like to get as well read this year. But we shall see. If not, I want to get to it next year. Is there a book you think could shock you and become a favourite of the year? Well, probably. To answer that question, I don't know. There might not be. I don't even know if there's any ones that I already have that would be. Well, apart from Francine Rivers, I guess. But I've only read 2 of her books, so yeah. Ooh, which one would I choose out of them 2? Now that is a question. Probably the Mark of the Lion book one. A Voice in the Wind. Because I do quite like my adventure and fantasy, although that's not fantasy, but that sort of thing. Question 6, the last one. Have you started making reading plans for next year? The answer to that is kind of, but not really. They're very, very loose plans, because I don't really have plans. I guess the only one I know I'll do is if there's any books that I've started reading, especially the non-fiction that I want to finish, I plan to continue and finish them next year. Other than that, I have no idea. Yeah, no other plans really, just to keep reading. Maybe, depending on how many books I end up reading this year, maybe increase the amount of books I would like to read. But other than that, not really. That's it. That's all my questions. I was hoping it was going to be short, and of course it isn't. I'm currently on 46 minutes, so yeah, might have to, doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you for watching. I am going to be doing a bit of a different video that I'm hoping I'll be uploading next week. I haven't started it yet though, so we shall see. Even though this is a tag video, there's no particular tags for people to do it. So if you also want to talk about what it is you want to read up until the end of the year, then please do a video, or even just let me know in the comments, whichever you would prefer. If you want, I'll be leaving the questions in the description down below, so just have a look. I'll also be linking Cheryl's and Ariel's channels down below as well, so go and check out their tag videos, but also their other videos. I think Cheryl said Ariel's one is quite an old one for this particular tag, but I've not looked. So yeah. So I also don't know if she's still creating videos or not, because I haven't watched the channel and I've not looked. Certainly as of filming right now, I've not looked at her channel before. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your week. I pray God blesses you. Yeah. Bye.